Welcome to VGK Today, a daily podcast providing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Sunday, April 20th, as the VGK prepare for Game 1 of their first round series with the Minnesota Wild tonight at 7 p.m. at T-Mobile Arena. Vegas enters the postseason riding high after securing the Pacific Division crown down the stretch, and now they'll look to use that momentum and the home ice advantage that comes with it to take down the Wild and advance to round 2. To kick things off for us on our daily VGK Today journey through the postseason, after the break, we welcome Daren Millard to help us preview Game 1. Golden Knights fans, you can experience the excitement of playoff hockey firsthand with a limited number of tickets available at the Fortress. Visit VegasGoldenKnights.com to learn more and get in the door at T-Mobile Arena. If you can't make it into the building, well, you can also stream all of the first round games on Nighttime Plus on your phone, tablet, or smart TV for just $19.99 with the All In for the Realm offer. Visit VegasGoldenKnights.com for details and stream the Knights against the Wild.
Justin, today is a foundational day on the podcast. We hope there are more Game 1s, but tonight is the first and the only playoff opener for the Golden Knights. The games will color in the canvas, but we can, at the very least, give you an idea of what kind of picture will be painted along the way. So let's start with the basics. This first-round series puts a divisional winner in Vegas against Minnesota, a wild card team. The Golden Knights are a 50-win club and clinched the Pacific title with 2 games to go, while the Wild didn't earn a playoff spot until Game 82. That said, these two were enjoying very similar seasons back in early December before injuries disrupted the Minnesota campaign. Where the Wild were tripped up, the Golden Knights excelled, grinding through a challenging January, turning the corner right before the Four Nations tournament before cranking up the pace in the final quarter of the season with points in 21 of the final 26. Minnesota was waiting to get healthy along the way. The VGK added and evolved, landing Brandon Saad for the final 2 months, reacquiring original misfit Riley Smith at the trade deadline. Those two have settled in on different but impactful lines. Saad and Tomas Hertl and Pavel Dorofeev have been awesome together. Smith skating with his buddy William Karlsson and Victor Olofsson, who after bouncing around the forward group, looking for a home, has found one and is playing his most consistent hockey as a Golden Knight. Bruce Cassidy will have everyone available tonight. Every forward, all 8 defensemen, and both goalies are healthy. That is a very different scenario from his 2 previous trips to the Stanley Cup playoffs in Vegas. The coach was even able to get people some rest down the stretch, including his goaltender, who will play in a postseason curtain raiser for the first time. Here's Bruce Cassidy.
Back to Aiden. He didn't play last week or going into the playoffs. What happened in 23 coming in mid-playoffs, last year mid-series, this year coming out of
Should
Four
I
Nations?
wait and throw him in the middle of the series, Darren?
Well, he's been so good.
I can read your mind.
He's been so good in that area. Did that influence handling him this past week, or was it independent of that?
In reality, every goalie, I think, likes to stay in their rhythm. I'm sure he would have preferred to play one of the games, get his rhythm, his day off, etc. So I had that conversation with Sean Berkey. I thought his, rest and being ready to go in Game 1 was more important than missing one game. This happens in playoff series. If you're lucky enough to advance and close a series early, sometimes you got to wait. Even if you don't, the TV dictates you might wait 8-9 days. So it's not new. It's new for the first round, right? Typically, you're going in 3 or 4 days later. So that's the decision we made. We didn't want to risk any potential injury. He had a great year for us. Start of the year, we had him pegged for close to 50 games, somewhere there. If we had to be a little high, probably meant our backup was hurt or something was going on. If we're a little low, probably meant he had to miss time. But none of that happened. Our backups played well. He didn't get hurt, so it worked out really well for his number. So we wanted to stay at that number, give him his rest. He was a Four Nations guy. He didn't play in the tournament, but he's there every day. He's practicing. So you're still going through the mental process. So that was our thinking with Hanif Stone. Theo had gotten hurt. It would have been our thinking, but he missed his time, and Jack had missed time, would have been the same. So, and Carly missed time, didn't play in it, Petro, so they didn't matter. But those three guys, we wanted to try to give them some time at some point, and here it is. We'll see. We'll see how it works out if there's rust in his game. If there is, I don't think it'll be there long. It was 8 days. We'll see if that was the right call or not. We've tried to manage our practice load, game load this whole week. Will that work out for us in the long run? We'll see. But we've tried to put a plan together where guys are getting a day or an extra day or two here. So it'll help them in the long run. We'll see how it plays out for game one. Sometimes when you're off, is there rust? I don't know. We'll see about that. There shouldn't be. It's only a week, but we are healthy. Everyone's able to go. I wouldn't say anybody at this time of the year is completely 100%. You got nagging things, but nothing that can prevent a guy from playing or having us put another guy in ahead of him because he's only 80%. Nobody's in that position, so that's kind of nice. Sounds like Minnesota's in the same boat. That's good this time of year for teams. Other teams I've read today got some bad news on players, so that's always a little bit of adversity. We don't have to deal with that, at least knock on wood, not yet. I brought it up today with these guys. I said, listen, we've done all the work, and okay, so this is what we're going to do today, and we're going to go on the ice and we're going to practice our way. We're not going to throw in a bunch of new drills, a couple of things that could help against Minnesota's tendencies, but without having them stop and think too much. So we're going to give them information. How much is the right amount? Well, if we don't give them enough, we don't want to look like idiots as coaches, and then they say, well, we didn't know this or that. So then you overload them, and they're like, well, I can't play because I'm just thinking the whole time instead of playing. So I don't have an easy answer for finding that balance. Over time, you learn, what your team can take. And what I have learned about playoffs, game one, I think the series starts after game one. You see what you are a little bit and what they are. Okay, away we go. Okay, I didn't see this coming. I saw this coming. Yeah, this is who they are. Yeah, here's where they, and then you start making a few adjustments, and then it goes along. I can give them all they want on Minnesota. They're going to give us all about Vegas, but once you start playing, that's when I think you get to really, truly know and get into it. So you got to be careful you don't overload. I have learned that. We want to be true to ourselves and play our game. Hey, here's what Minnesota does well, but we're going to play our game, let them adjust us. That's not a bad mindset. And you're not going in blind because you are having meeting on tendencies, but I don't think you can cover every little detail. It's not one football game. It's a series, right? So I think you got to be careful with that. And then there's, hey, if you're a cerebral player, go see one of the coaches in your area and say, hey, I'd like a little more on Eriksson Ek. Okay, so not everyone needs to know that information because they may not have that matchup or whatever. I'm using that as an example. So you got to be a little careful that you don't get too much into the minutia, and all of a sudden the guys are like, what? Because it can get that way in a hurry. They want to play. They want to play hockey. They've done it 82 times this year, and they want to play Vegas Golden Knights hockey, and they don't want to hear every detail about Minnesota.
Bruce has options with the forward combinations. The team's final practice did feature a familiar trio of Jack Eichel, Mark Stone with Ivan Barbashev, who was playing on the fourth line in the days leading up to the playoffs. That points to Brett Howden beginning on the left side of Nick Watt on a line with Keegan Colasar. That fourth line boasts two players who had career years and another who equaled his best goal-scoring season ever. That's what Minnesota's going to have to stop from top to bottom in the Golden Knights. But an equally big challenge will be to find ways to score against the four lines that can all defend with centermen like Jack Eichel, Tomas Hertl, William Karlsson, and Nick Watt. Vegas has already won a banner, one that goes with the Pacific Division title. Add in the lengthy list of individual career years, and there wasn't much to critique this campaign. Nowhere was that more evident than when General Manager Kelly McCrimmon met with the media for his pre-playoff availability. And there wasn't 5 questions sent his way. The architect of another championship-caliber roster was himself impressed by the level of play over the last 7 months.
I've said to you before that I always believe your team, has to continue to get better over the course of the year. I think we lost that opportunity last year with all of the injuries that we had. This year, while we have had, our share of injuries, we've been much healthier than we were a year ago. Offensively, fifth in the NHL in goals for, defensively third in the NHL goals against. 274 goals, a franchise record for the Golden Knights, which going into the season I think was a question mark for some people. So it was really encouraging to see the types of seasons that some players had. Best power play that we've had in franchise history. Faded a little bit at the end to finish in second place. Had a real chance for a long period of time to be a power play that was over 30%, finished at 28.3. Our health going into, discipline, league record, NHL record for fewest time shorthanded, which to me speaks to real discipline from your team. We check with our legs, we don't reach, and I think we're respected by the officials. I think that's part of it. Unfortunately, fewest power plays in the NHL, which, not to get myself fined, I just struggle to believe you can be a first place team with 50 wins and have the fewest power plays in the league. But I think our 5-5 game is really good, and I think at playoff time, that's a really critical part of it for any team is your 5-5 play. So we're encouraged by that. I was going on to talk about our health. We'll start the playoffs with all hands on deck. We had this year 210 man games of injuries, and we didn't have the injury trouble that we've had in the past or that some teams did, but Victor Olofsson missed 26 games, William Karlsson missed 29 games, Mark Stone 16, Barbashev 12, Hurdle 9, Theodore from Four Nations missed 15, Haig 14, Petrangelo 11. So we had, White Cloud missed 10. We had our share as well, but much better than what we had last year. Certainly the year that we won the Stanley Cup, we had 319. So encouraged by our health going into playoffs. You want to be playing well, you want to be healthy. The Western Conference is really strong. It has been all year. I felt, right from early on that it was the better of the two conferences, with all due respect to some of the teams in the East. But, on our side, what do we have? 6 teams with over 100 points. I think you've got, a handful of teams in the West that could be Stanley Cup champions. I think it's that deep. The team that we're playing finished with 97 points. They had a season where we played there on December 15th. It's interesting how some things just really resonate for you. We played there December 15th. At that time, they were one of the hottest teams in the NHL. They were second overall in the NHL. I remember Kirill Kaprizov scored that night, and on the score clock in St. Paul, they put up Leon Draisaitl's goals and Kaprizov's goals. I believe they were tied or within one of each other. So that's the type of year that player was having. Of course, he went on to miss 41 games. Joel Eriksson Ek, who's a tremendously important player for their team as well, missed 36. They are back to full health. So I think the team that we're preparing for is probably going to be a lot more like the team that we faced in the first half of the season than what we saw in the second half of the season. The wild card teams are very strong. It was no real preference of us if it was Minnesota or St. Louis. It took Minnesota a 6-on-5 goal with 19 seconds left in the game to secure this matchup. If it wasn't, it would be St. Louis who goes into the playoffs as one of the hottest teams in the NHL. So that's life in the West. There's going to be no easy rounds, and there shouldn't be. It's the Stanley Cup. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Vegas swept the season series from Minnesota. The closest game was the opening matchup that featured a pair of goals by Kirill Kaprizov. He got injured shortly thereafter, only played half the games this season, but if you factor it over the whole campaign, was going to be a 100-point guy. Jack Eichel scored a hat-trick in the final meeting with the Wild. So both team stars have positive vibes entering this first-round set. It's the second time that these two franchises will face off in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Vegas beating the Wild in 7 coming out of the pandemic in 2021. Part of 5 straight first-round series in which the Golden Knights play a team from the Central Division. Now, that's a playoff oddity. one the VGK have used to their advantage with 3 wins in the previous 4. Last year was a rare season. Vegas didn't see the second round. And the last time that happened, the city tossed the club a parade the next year. Vegas and Minnesota, Game 1. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and VGK Today will have reaction, player interviews, lineup news, and some outside-the-rink type conversations all along the way. We have a schedule through the first round, but we are slightly superstitious, so we don't extend it beyond that. Everyone is aware, however, that as far as the team goes, we will be right here on VGK Today. Justin, I hope you're ready, buddy. Let's get it going.
Thank you to Daren for joining us today, and we will indeed have it all for you here on VGK Today as we guide you through the postseason with the Golden Knights, and I am ready to get things going with Game 1 tonight. Should be a fun one from the Fortress. We'll step aside once more, and when we come back, we'll recap Saturday's Stanley Cup playoff action and look ahead to the upcoming playoff schedule early this week. Golden Knights fans, you can also check out the Vegas Nighthawks, who are back at Lee's Family Forum on May 3rd and May 10th. Catch the fast-paced, family-friendly action of indoor football with tickets available at nighthawksfootball.com. Also want to remind you that the official VGK mobile app is the easiest way to keep up with the team. Plus, fans with the app will have the chance to win tickets to select playoff games. Download it today for Apple or Android, the VGK official mobile app. While the Golden Knights begin their first round series tonight, the first round itself began Saturday with 2 Western Conference series kicking off. First off, we had the whiteout in Winnipeg as the President's Trophy-winning Jets hosted the Blues in the postseason opener. A back-and-forth affair saw the teams even at 2 heading into the first intermission. Jordan Kyrou then struck early in the second period for the Blues before Alex Iafallo reignited Canada Life Center with a third-period equalizer. With the game in the balance in the final minutes, Mark Scheifele fed Kyle Connor to completely blow the roof off, and Adam Lowry soon after added an empty netter for good measure as the Jets took Game 1 by a final score of 5-3. In the second game of the doubleheader, we had the Mikko Rantanen Bowl, with the Stars playing host to the Avalanche. Dallas is without some key figures, as Miro Heiskanen remains out and Jason Robertson missed the game and is designated as week-to-week after being injured in Dallas's regular season finale. And that lack of star power showed for the Stars, as this one was all Colorado. Arturi Lehkonen and Nathan McKinnon gave the Avs a 2-0 lead heading into the final frame, and while Roope Hintz got one back for the Stars with a power play goal in the third, the Avalanche shook it right off. Devon Taves, McKinnon, and deadline acquisition Charlie Coyle all scored late to make it a 5-1 result in favor of Colorado. As for the upcoming schedule, it is a triple header today for Easter Sunday. First up, the Hurricanes host the Devils in Game 1 at noon Pacific time from Raleigh. Then it's the Battle of Ontario at 3 p.m. with the Maple Leafs hosting the Senators in Toronto before the VGK battle the Wild at 7. On Monday, we get Game 1 of the Capitals Canadiens at 4 p.m., Then it's Game 2 of each of those series that we just recapped, with the Jets and Blues battling at 4:30 and the Avs and Stars going at it at 6:30 as the Stars look to even up the series. The nightcap on that night is Oilers and Kings, Game 1 from LA at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Looking ahead to Tuesday, we get the start of the Panthers Lightning series at 5:30 among a sea of Game 2s that day, with the Battle of Florida being the last series to get going in round 1, and the first 2 games will come up in Tampa Bay as the Lightning are the higher seed in the Atlantic. Lots of fun to come this week with all 16 teams still in the mix, so sit back and enjoy the start of round 1. That'll just about wrap things up for today's show. Thank you as always for tuning in to VGK Today, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, as we'll be back every day throughout the Knights' 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run with new episodes. Tune in tomorrow as Dan Duva and I recap Game 1 between the Knights and the Wild. Justin Russo signing off for VGK Today.